Lindsay Baumgren of Nourish Move Love, and today we're bringing you 5 advanced postpartum recovery ab and core exercises. And today I'm joined by Sari, who is my pelvic floor physical therapist. She's going to be helping us walk through these 5 advanced exercises, telling us when we're ready to scale up, how we can give it some cues to regress or progress each exercise. So I'm really excited about today's workout. If you've done our beginner version, you've walked through 5 beginner exercises. Now we're scaling up to advanced exercises as you progress along that postpartum recovery journey. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into these 5 exercises. We're going to head right down to the mat. And I'm going to start lying on my backside, and we're going to start with some good core breathing again, but we're going to scale up from, if you've done our 5-minute beginner one, we started with heels on the ground. I'm going to start with my legs at 90 degrees, right? I'm going to have a little bit less stability. Again, I'm going to place my hands on my belly because I like to have that mind-muscle connection. We're going to do each exercise for about 40 seconds with a 20-second transition, and you'll repeat each exercise twice so you really get the hang of it, and Sari can talk us through how we scale it up or how we scale it down.
Yep.
So core breathing, we're going to go big inhale, belly expands, and exhale, pulling that belly nice and tight. I like to put my hands right here so they can mimic what my core is doing. Sometimes it's hard for me to make that mind-muscle connection after having a baby.
It takes a while to find that deeper core.
So this is one of my favorite ways to do it, is this. I like to also have internal and external cues. So externally, I'm thinking about a marshmallow being underneath my back, and as I exhale, I'm thinking about squishing that marshmallow into the mat. And then internally, my internal, what's happening inside, I'm either thinking about a blueberry resting on my belly button, and I'm trying to squish it with my 2 ab muscles coming together.
Yeah.
Or I like thinking about a string across my hip bones. Another one I think about is decreasing the air between my ribs and my hips. Nice. We're going to do about 2 more belly breaths here.
And when Lindsay's expanding through her belly, I want you to also think about dropping your pelvic floor. So a lot of people keep their pelvic floor tight during all abdominal exercises, but we want those muscles to go through full range of motion with your breath.
That's a really good point. Let's go ahead and relax, and that's what I'm going to focus on this second time. That's why I like having 2 stabs at every exercise.
Yeah.
So this time as I walk through it, I'm going to think about lengthening pelvic floor on the inhale and then contracting it on the exhale. Okay, we go in 3, 2, here we go. So lengthen and exhale, contract. And now I'm thinking about pulling that blueberry up with my lady parts.
And a lot of people say that's super counterintuitive. When I breathe in, I feel like I want to contract my pelvic floor. And I want you to think about what your diaphragm's doing. So when you breathe in, your diaphragm drops down and your pelvic floor drops down at the same time. So that's why we cue it that way, at least initially.
Nice. Always good to think about those internal cues that are happening. And if you feel like you're ready to scale this up, one thing you could start doing is kicking one leg out to a straight position. Eventually even working up to that hollow rock hold with both legs out. Nice, awesome. Come to a nice rest, and we're gonna move on. Next exercise number 2, I'm gonna say starting here with the legs at 90 degrees. Closer they are to my chest, easier it's gonna be. Farther they are, harder it's gonna be. I'm gonna extend one leg out and draw 2 small circles with my toe. We'll go there in 5 seconds, so go ahead, set it up. Take that inhale. Exhale, belly pulls tight, and here we go. Right leg's gonna kick out, and I'm gonna draw 2 small circles. And I'm gonna return it to that 90 degree, and then other leg's gonna kick out. I'm gonna draw 2 small circles. I'm thinking like a donut-sized circle is what I'm drawing. And again, going nice, slow and controlled here. And if I'm starting to feel like this is too much pressure, or you're starting to see any of that like really coming to that TP in the middle, I could always scale back to range of motion. So I could just draw out a little bit, keep that leg bent, and just creating a little bit of motion with that hip. It's also really good for hip stability, right? Which is really important if I want to return to running.
Yeah, and I always say, try to find a different strategy before scaling. So if this feels really challenging, you're noticing a lot of doming, that's not a bad thing. It's just feedback on how much pressure your system's managing. So think about a different cue that maybe Lindsay said, or a different breathing strategy, and see if that changes how you're feeling in the exercise before saying, I'm not ready for this.
Awesome. Let's take a nice quick break, and we're going to jump right back in. And again, yeah, you can think about it differently or cue it differently. This time I'm really going to focusing on breathing through a straw as I exhale. So inhale, exhale.
Nice.
Also really trying to focus on, it's really hard to cue the pelvic floor because we can't see it, right? But I'm really trying to think on that inhale, lengthen, exhale, contract. So I like to think about the blueberry. Why is it a blueberry? Because it's just a small little beautiful piece of fruit,
Could
right?
be an M&M.
Right, there you go. I like thinking about the blueberry that's resting on my belly button. I'm trying to squish that with my abs. And then the blueberry that I'm also trying to pick up with my core. Nice. You're here for a couple more seconds. Awesome job. And then we're gonna move on in 3, 2, and 1. Nice. So from here, I'm gonna go to holding one leg out, Legs are at 90 degrees. I'll kick one leg out. I'm going to take my opposite hand and push it into the knee of the opposite leg. And I'm just going to push into this leg and hold there. So we're going to start with a 3-second hold, and then I can always scale up to 5 seconds, maybe even 10 seconds, depending on how you're feeling. So let's go ahead and start there. So inhale, exhale. So I'm going to kick that leg out, and I'm going to push the opposite hand in here. Now, would you say neck stays resting, or should my neck come up off the mat?
You could start with neck resting.
Okay.
If that's feeling easy, you could bring your neck up. Yeah.
Nice.
And I love this especially because it's actually working what we call the anterior chain system. So our oblique on the left side is working with the adductor, the inner thigh on the right side. And so it's nice to coordinate that system together because that works together as a system.
I'm gonna take a quick break. That's a challenging one. I got 10 more seconds. I'm gonna go back in and hold for 10 seconds. Again, you can always start with 3 seconds, progress up to 5 seconds, take breaks as needed. I'm really holding here. I'm pushing for 3, 2, and rest.
Awesome.
We're gonna do the other side the next time through. So take a quick rest here. And so as we start to get into some of these more advanced exercises, some feedback I've gotten is people say, what if I'm starting to feel this in my lower back? What would you cue for that? And we'll go ahead and jump into our first move here, and then we'll let you cue that. So big inhale, exhale. My left leg's gonna kick out, and I'm gonna push into that right inner thigh. So if I'm starting to feel this in my low back.
So I talk about tension to task. Sometimes with these harder moves, people are just bracing maximally and creating a ton of tension. So the first thing I say is let's back off a little bit, maybe work to 80% versus 100. And sometimes that will naturally just decrease how much tension is happening in the back. So thinking tension to task is the first thing. The other thing would be checking, are you holding your breath during that? Are you breathing out through that straw?
Those are really good things, to think about. And also, I know for me, I'm gonna take that break again. We'll go back in for 10 seconds. I'm gonna hold for 10 seconds. Nice work. 5, 4, 3,
You got
2,
it.
and 1.
Nice.
We're gonna move on to a plank, and we're gonna go to a rolling plank. And as you were mentioning, as you were saying that, I think one thing for me, especially, I'm like an all-out person, right?
Yeah.
Like if you've done my programs, you know I love high-intensity interval training. I love going at 100%. I'm gonna start in a modified plank here, and I'm gonna go one leg up, other leg up, drop, drop. So this is a rolling plank. We go in 3, 2, let's go. So I go lift one knee, lift the other knee, return, return, lift, lift, return. This is one of my favorite ways that I started scaling back up to that full plank. Again, you could always add an incline here by placing your hand on a chair or a bench. But back to being that all-out 100% person, one thing I've learned with core and pelvic floor recovery, right, is that it's not about being 100%. Right. Even when I'm working on those internal pelvic floor contractions, I always want to go up to 100%, and then I turn on my glutes and other muscles, and that's not where we want to be. Sometimes it's not always about going 100%.
And I always say it's not forever, it's just for now. So that's hard for postpartum recovery, but you're just scaling up for this small time period.
Nice. I'm taking a quick break, and we're going to jump right back into that rolling plank, okay? So jump back into that rolling plank, and I love that. I've been using that phrase in my head, like it's not forever, this is just for now. Yeah. Right? We're here for 3, 2, let's go. So the knee. So that's such a good phrase to think about, especially during this season of life, you guys.
Especially
I know,
for athletes.
Right? You're coming back, you want to be back 100% right away. This is not forever. This is just for now, knowing that it's going to help get me to where I want to be, right? Nice work.
It took 9 months for your body to change, and then you pushed out a baby, so it's going to take some time.
Right? Which is why I love seeing a pelvic floor physical therapist. I've learned so much about my body, and that's why we wanted to create this program, was to share with you. I've had 3 babies now, and I'm still learning 3 babies later. Nice work, you guys, right here. You're in it for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Awesome job. Nice work. You're going to want to sit back, stretch it out, because we're going to go into that full forearm plank hold, okay? So again, this is all scalable. So I'm going to hold. You don't have to hold for the full 40 seconds. Maybe you start with 10. Then you progress up, and you go from there, okay? So we're going to start with the forearm plank hold for the first time through, and then we'll show you how you can progress it again a second time. So 3, 2, 1. I'm holding here. I'm going to give you my cues. I like to think about pulling my shoulder blades apart, pulling my toes towards my elbows, pushing my heels back towards that wall behind me, and pulling up on my kneecaps. Do you have anything to add, Sari?
I love that. And Lindsay's creating a nice long neck here, so she has a little bit of a chin tucked down versus reaching up toward the ceiling. That'll be more comfortable in through the cervical spine, the neck.
Awesome. Good. And then here, if you were assessing me, what would you be looking for if I was in a session with you?
Yeah, so I would be looking at your shoulder blades. If they're trying to kind of cave in or draw together, I might be saying, let's try to bring those back apart, create a stable base with your shoulders. Looking at her low back here, is that dropping toward the floor? No, she's creating a nice long neutral spine.
And I'm gonna break because that was my 40 seconds and I was watching that clock. Still holding a plank. I'm 8 weeks postpartum, so holding a plank for 40 seconds is still very challenging for me. Okay, I'm gonna get back in. I'm gonna do that same thing and I'm gonna show you, if you're ready, how we can possibly start scaling it up. Okay, so 3, 2, let's go. Find that nice forearm plank. Get nice and stable here. And if you start to feel really good about this, you can start adding a hand reach away. So I'm just gonna tap one hand out and return it, and tap the other hand out and return it. And so that's gonna create some instability, right, in the core. We were talking about how we love unilateral moves, focusing on one side of the body at a time. So good for postpartum moms. Why is unilateral training so good?
Well, especially if you want to get back into running. Running is a unilateral movement, so it's basically a series of single leg movements. And that really clicks when I tell people that, like, we got to take some time to rebuild that single leg strength and dynamic balance, in particular for return to run. And then it also works your core system. That system's a stability system. So unilateral movements are all based on stability.
Awesome. I love it. Okay, well that was our quick advanced circuit. I'm already sweating a little bit because still holding those planks is super challenging for me. And like I said, you take this program at what works best for you. And if you enjoyed this core recovery program, I highly suggest first checking out our beginner program. This is the advanced, and there's also ways you can advance up by adding a sponge ball and a resistance band, and you can find that whole program for our free Diastasis Recti recovery at nourishmovelove.com. Thanks so much and have a great day. Thanks so much for joining me for that core recovery workout. If you enjoyed it, I'd be so grateful if you dropped a subscribe to my YouTube channel right here. And if you want to access this entire free Diastasis Recti recovery program, you can find the whole program right here. Have a great day.